Welcome to the Simpit. I'm Sean Cole, and this is the brand new Moza Racing R25 Ultra direct drive wheelbase. This is Moza Racing's third generation direct drive wheelbase, and it's packed full of new features, including a sustained 25 Newton meters of torque, all for just $899. So if you do the math, that's just $36 per Newton meter, which means this is one of the best performing Newton meter to dollar wheels on the market today. Now, coming in at that kind of power, at that kind of price, puts it in head-to-head competition with some serious wheels out there on the market today. So let's take a closer look inside the Moza Racing R25 Ultra wheelbase. The R25 Ultra carries the familiar Moza design language, a compact, boxy housing with angular fins and clean branding. It's finished entirely in black with the new R25 logo on the sides along with some Moza branding. There's a RGB light strip running along both top edges of the wheelbase. Those stripes aren't just for show, they're fully customizable and can react to telemetry like ABS, traction control, or flag signals. Physically, it is larger than the R12 wheelbase, but it is relatively compact for a 25 Newton meter powerhouse, coming in at only 5.5 inches tall and wide and 7 inches long, plus another 3 inches for the drive shaft. The front uses Moza's NRG style quick release with their cross-pattern wireless connector, which works with all V2 and newer Moza wheels. And you have 3 different options when it comes to mounting the wheels, so that is really easy. You've got bottom mount for your desktop or your platform type rigs. You've got side mounts as well as that common 4-bolt front pattern mount. All right, so let's fire it up and see what that lighting looks like. Okay, that's a pretty cool startup sequence. Inside the casing is where the biggest upgrades that Moza has made that makes this the third generation wheel, like that flat motor winding which delivers smoother motion and true zero cogging. So you don't feel steps or resistance when you turn it by hand. It also packs a real-time torque sensor that samples at 2 kilohertz with 1% accuracy, and a 21-bit magnetic encoder providing over 2 million points of resolution, blah blah blah. And powering it is a 600 megahertz processor, fast enough to run iRacing at 360 hertz force feedback updates. These specs are what keep it running toe-to-toe with every flagship wheel on the market today. The cooling's also been redesigned with Moza's new intelligent cooling system using active monitoring and smart torque regulation. And driving it all is the NexGen 4.0 force feedback algorithm, the latest evolution of Moza's software, which you can tune through the Pithouse app on the PC or even on your phone. So as you can see, this is a proper third generation wheelbase with all sorts of upgraded features, all sorts of new features, and some flashy ones as well to make it that much cooler, that much more modern. So we're gonna go ahead and get this on our rig, and we're gonna tell you what it's like driving with the new Moza Racing R25 Ultra wheelbase. I jumped out on track with the stock settings and I immediately noticed the power. This is by far the most powerful wheel that Moza has ever made, and it puts it in that class with all of the big dogs or the super strong wheels out there. Coming in at 25 Newton meters, it's actually more power than I'm ever gonna really need or even want. It's just gonna wear me out at that high level. So I dialed it down to about 2/3 power, which still gave me a solid workout and left plenty of headroom. Even at that strength, the base stayed completely composed. No hint of friction or drag holding it back. The wheel feels so smooth and light when it's not under a load. Whatever Moza did with those flat wire motor windings, it worked. The freedom and fluidity of rotation really helped detail come through. That smoothness is where the R25 really shines. On lighter cars where the steering is light or you have power assist of some kind, the wheel feels kind of weightless when you're going down the straightaways, until suddenly it isn't. Because when you hit the brakes and turn in and it snaps from calm to corner load instantly, it transitions beautifully from neutral to fully loaded, just like a real car. The response speed is also excellent. Turn too aggressively and you'll feel that extra load right up until the front tires give up and the force feedback lightens as you slide. And for the oversteer crowd, those who love to hang it out a little, the R25 reacts fast and lets you feel the rear end grip fading. It communicates that loss quickly enough to let you correct or feather the throttle before things get messy. In heavier cars or cars with more downforce, the base really flexes its torque. Even on the straightaways, you can feel that constant load, and when you pitch into a corner under braking, it stacks even more weight into your hands. I never felt it run out of power, even at 2/3 strength, and I only saw the tiniest hint of clipping at full power. And in terms of power, frankly, I was done well before the wheel was. And when it comes to those secondary layers of detail in the force feedback, the R25 delivers the fun stuff. I'm talking about curbs and bumps, the kind of things that bring a smile to my face. And with the R25, they just feel fantastic. Those hard hits make you grin, and when the wheel snaps back like you nailed a V8 supercar curb, there's a lot of punch and snap to those impacts. But they settle smoothly, making car recovery natural. Rumble strips have that high-frequency rumble feeling that we depend on, reminding us we're right at the edge of the track. And I love that tactile reminder that you're pushing it. Even the gear shift jolts feel convincing and add to the immersion of the force feedback coming through the base. And of course, this is all stuff that you can alter and dial in the software. Now, yes, let's talk about those RGB lights. And I know you're all out there like, no more RGB. Why does everything have to be RGB? Well, I gotta admit, it's not just a gimmick, it's kinda cool. And you can use it to your advantage by configuring them to things like RPMs, traction control, or even a fuel gauge. I tried RPM, but it was visually distracting. So I switched to the fuel level, and that actually worked really well. Subtle, useful, and kind of slick looking. The flag indicators are neat too. White flag for last lap and that sort of thing. ABS and traction control indicators are hit and miss depending on the car, but they're fun for spectators and make the base feel more alive. And for those who just don't want to see it, you can always turn it off. Another thing I did notice about the wheel with the default settings was the oscillation. If I let go, this thing goes completely bonkers. And that's something else that we're going to turn down. Not only the strength, but probably put in a little damping or something to slow down the wheel just a little bit. The Moza Racing R25 Ultra, as well as any other Moza components that you're running, will be controlled through the Moza Pit House software. And over the years, it's actually gotten quite a bit more detailed with a lot more control, including what you can do to this wheelbase, including all of the normal things that you'd expect, like overall power. Of course, you have the basic settings like your steering angle, anything from 90 to 2700 degrees, and some quick settings. You can adjust your soft limitedness, your overall intensity, and again, you have quick settings for a lot of these, and some adjustments for the torque limit. In the advanced settings is where I was able to actually cure some of the problems with the wheel by adding some natural friction, natural damping, as well as a little bit of speed-dependent damping. That's how I really cured that oscillation and toned that down to a drivable amount. But you will dial in these settings to the best you want, and they do have some presets that you can use for various different games as well. You can also control the overall lighting, and that's something that's new for this base. And so, for example, is my fuel gauge, which will go from white to yellow to orange. But if I wanted it to be a different color, I can just select it from the drop down. And you have a left and right hand side of the base. Other things that we haven't covered but I want to address is that the quick release itself is solid, so not only is it wireless and compatible with all V2 wheels, but it is very sturdy and locked on well. The mounting options include the bottom mount, and I'm going to give a little warning. My threads were very sensitive, and you had to have the right length bolts to get it snugly on there without doing any damage. I would definitely take a little care when operating these threads and mounting your wheel. You also have the front mount that is that typical 4-bolt front pattern that we're seeing as almost a universal mount nowadays, as well as the side mounts for what will require the Moza side mount brackets. The rear panel on the R25 is similar to what we've seen on the latest wheels with a USB-C connection to the PC, ports for other accessories like pedals, handbrake, shifter, and dash. And then it becomes a USB saver because you could have all of those operating under just one USB to the PC. You can hear, see, and actually feel the differences as I've toned things down quite a bit. Lower force feedback, we've got a little bit more friction on the wheel, a little bit of hands-off protection, and it still goes a little wobbly, but it's a little bit slower to react and not quite as out of control. The other thing is the noise, that vibration that was a little bit annoying at full power. Here with a little bit of rumble strip, you can hear and feel it, sure, but it's not quite like it's gonna destroy everything in the house. Same thing with that rev limiter. You can feel it in the wheel, but it's not annoying. So we really have this now to a tame level and at the kind of force feedback that I can drive comfortably for hours and still have a lot of power left in reserve to make sure we have no clipping. As wheelbases have improved, the differences between them have actually gotten smaller outside of power and price, which tend to go hand in hand, but the driving feel of high-end direct drives have become very similar. They all do what they're supposed to do, and they all do it well. So no, they're not the same. I mean, it's kind of like comparing a Seiko to a Rolex. They both tell time, but one feels kind of special. Or like a Subaru WRX to a Ferrari. They're both fast, they're both fun to drive, but one is again extra special. So who is the R25 Ultra really for? Well, it's definitely for existing Moza racers. If you're already on an R9, an R12, or even an R16 and want more power, faster response, and the new RGB features, this upgrade makes total sense. You stay in the Moza ecosystem and avoid buying all new gear. It's also for new sim racers who are committed long term. If you're getting into sim racing and you know you're gonna be here for a while, you're gonna have to buy a lot of equipment. But if you're looking for something in that high-end, high-performance, high Newton meter market, it's gonna cost you a pretty penny. And the money you can save with this wheelbase compared to some of the other high-end wheels can actually go a long way in getting your entire sim racing kit. It's also for performance to dollar enthusiasts. I mean, the value here is unbeatable. It's a little bit like that Seiko analogy. Sharp, classy, gets the job done well, but not trying to show off. So you get premium performance without paying that full price. In short, the Moza R25 Ultra hits that sweet spot. High-end performance for a low price, giving you a lot of bang for your buck without a lot of that sticker shock. That pretty much tells you the full story of the Moza Racing R25 Ultra wheelbase. Let's boil it down to the essentials with the good, the not so good, and the bottom line, starting off with the good, and that being smooth, refined turning feel. Very powerful for its size. Great price point. Wide variety of compatible wheels. Quality detailed force feedback effects. Cool RGB lighting with telemetry effects. 3 mounting options, side, bottom, or front. USB saver, clean plug-in solution for Moza gear. Fully compatible with all V2 wheels. Excellent build quality and finish. Runs cool and quiet even under load, except for the vibration. Strong ecosystem support and software integration. And now on to the not so good. The software still requires some fine tuning. Front mount may require adapter for some rigs. Power brick could be smaller or better styled. Temperamental lower mount threads. Plastic back cover, kind of cheap on a $900 wheel. And now on to the bottom line. When you add it all up, the Moza Racing R25 Ultra wheelbase is a serious piece of sim hardware. It is a big, powerful wheel. It delivers smooth and detailed force feedback, all in that Moza Racing polish. And all at a price that punches well above its class. The R25 Ultra feels like Moza's most complete direct drive wheel yet, blending force, finesse, and features set into a package that are just plain fun to drive. Sure, it's not perfect. You're locked into the Moza ecosystem to an extent, or at least to get its full capabilities. And you definitely need to do a little bit of workaround in the software to get the thing really dialed in for the kind of driving that you're doing. But because you're dealing with such a strong wheel, it just becomes that much more important to get it dialed in correctly. But those are minor gripes in what's otherwise a standout mid to high tier wheelbase that could easily be mistaken for something more expensive. Now, if you're already in the Moza family, so to speak, this is a no-brainer of an upgrade if you're looking for a stronger wheelbase. And if you're getting into sim racing for the first time, then the R25 should be at the top of your list. The Moza R25 Ultra brings in some serious power, some refined feel, and real value to the equation, and that's something worth paying attention to. So I want to thank Moza for sending this unit over for review. It was sent for free, and they have no say in the outcome of this review whatsoever. So I hope you enjoyed our review of the Moza Racing R25 Ultra wheelbase. If you did, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Be sure to subscribe to the channel so you can find out when our next video comes out. This is the Simpit. I'm Sean Cole, and I'll see you on the track.